allow deep filling of accompanying trailers. Being 900 millimeters wide, it has the ability to load over 40 tons an hour, as we shall see later. Lastly, this harvester is fitted with 2 sets of adjustable clod fingers. The rubber blocks are raised and lowered by an electric ram, controllable from the cab. Returning to the mainland, your cameraman couldn't resist a shot of the world's biggest warship, the USS George Washington. Nor, for that matter, could he resist the world's biggest yacht. Our second port of call on Earlys is to Quecks Park in Kent, where a new manned Statesman 2 replaced 85 hand pickers. A front-mounted standen topper is used, this fine topper becoming ever more popular as growers appreciate its ability to top cleanly, accurately and at fast forward speeds. Here's what the farm manager had to say about his new harvester.
We were very worried to use a harvester, we were very anxious about using it. It's done everything we wanted it to do. The work rate is right and it was able to go in wet conditions, and there's now no question we'll ever go back to hand picking. And I think you'll find that will be the trend in the area. But they need the confidence to go for a machine that will work, and this one will. We're able to go when no one else could. So the first 120 tonne was listed at very high prices when no one else, frankly, in South England could go. So that was very beneficial to us.
At this point of the film, we've seen all the standen range at work, so perhaps it's now appropriate to remind viewers that all our machines are part of a system. And here, at one of our premier dealers' working demonstrations, we can see the whole system at work in one field. Using mostly farmers' own machines, we have a rather unusual situation, where a crop is being both planted and harvested at the same time. It's mid-June. The corn is ripening, and a crop of Astara is being lifted by a recently purchased Statesman 2. The top is being defoliated by an FM flail topper, in this instance mounted on the rear of the tractor. Meanwhile, across the field, the bed former and cultibed are setting up the beds for the Spectra. The Spectra, maintaining a brisk forward speed, prepares the bed for planting. And then a platform planter sets the seed for a second crop, to be harvested in September or October. Seeing so many standen machines in one field once again demonstrates the company's commitment to the potato grower and the continuing investment made by the company in new products. Not all conditions are perfect, as many growers know, so we're now up in Yorkshire to check how the Statesman performs in excessive weed. What went wrong?
Seemed to have a failure with the herbicide, it didn't do a very good job, and the weed gradually took over and just smothered the crop out.
And how has his new Statesman 2 coped?
It's done an excellent job. I would have nearly had to have abandoned it with our old harvester, and I don't think it would have coped at all.
Why did he buy the harvester?
The last video you made came through the post, I watched it and thought it looked a good machine, so we tried one. Well, we didn't actually see one work before this one was delivered onto farm. We just saw the video. It did everything that they said it would do. Don't need anybody on the grader, just me and the trailer driver, and there's no, obviously, as you can see, there's nobody on the machine. It's put 3 people out of work, basically.
How did his driver take to it?
Seems to be managing very well. He seems to have got the hang of it very quickly.
A word now from the driver.
I think it's a lot easier to use, it's more handy, everything's open, you can get to everything. There's nothing hidden away, you don't have to crawl around things with grease guns or anything like that, you can get to everything.
And the all-important field settings.
They're easy to do, everything's on handles, less of the spanner jobs which nobody likes. They encourage you to actually get out there and do it and make a good job of it.
It's not only in the UK that standen has been active. Here in Holland, farmers know a thing or two about potatoes, and in 1994 they were about to know a thing or two about the standen Statesman. At a major national demonstration in the north of Holland, the standen harvester led out the 8 harvesters which were to be put through their paces. To make the subsequent assessments fair, all the harvesters worked in echelon. The polder soil was extremely sticky, with the potatoes coming up like Scotch eggs. The conditions proved a real test for all the harvesters present, in particular for those not fitted with roller tables, and some with. To Dutch growers, the Statesman was a revelation and attracted a large crowd as it showed what it could do. The 36mm web configuration meant that plenty of soil was being lifted. However, the usual quality of separation was achieved so that the load passing to the trailer was judged by those present to be as good as any. Losses behind the harvester, which were assessed by the organisers, were negligible. The standard importer had plenty to talk about, with a lot of interest. He even had to enrol your cameraman. The same cameraman seems to have made a friend of at least one visitor. Across the Atlantic Ocean, the Statesman was making an even bigger impression. This was in Canada, the land of big fields and big machines. Typically, growers use a combination of 4-row and 2-row windrowers to place 6 rows between 2 yet to be dug, to lift 8 rows in total. The first grower who saw the Statesman asked where the rest of the machine was. However, very soon they realised that British technology was well ahead of anything they had to offer. Although conditions were very different to Europe's, the Statesman, with just an 85 horsepower tractor, was their master. Conditions varied enormously. With no de-stoning, some crops were full of stone. The roller table met the challenge head-on. Or heavy grass and weed infestation. As usual, no problem. Visitors were amazed by what they saw. The word soon spread. This grower was no exception.
I had watched the video and I'd found it. It looked a little far-fetched, really. And
That's just what I was going to say. Did you think it was a little too good to be
it
true?
It looked a little far-fetched, and then I figured this would be the spot to try it. Very, very pleased with it. We tried digging with our own twister there, and we couldn't do anything. We'd go 500 or 600 feet, and everything would just bunch up with sods. Virtually no sod at all. It just did an excellent job.
Exports are increasingly important to Standen, and in 1994 harvesters were shipped to markets which included Australia, South Africa, Canada, Holland and Germany. The Potato Marketing Board's September demonstration is probably the most important demo held anywhere in the world. Visitors in their thousands from both the UK and overseas flocked to York to see what the industry had to offer. Those who attended the first day had the benefit of seeing nearly 30 different harvesters at work, including a number of new models. Standen fielded no less than 3 new harvesters. The best known of the 3 was the Statesman 2, 100 of which were sold during 1994. Never short of a crowd of interested growers, it showed how green top should be handled. The home roller has removed most of it, and what's left, the rollers take out. The sample in the trailer is 100% clean. Apart from Statesman 2, there were 2 brand new harvesters. The first was the Standen Woolmouse Scimitar 2, a 2-row fully offset harvester which is to be offered to the UK grower once its development programme is completed. Manufactured by Standen's German associates, the Scimitar 2 features a through-flow devining web system which handles all the haulm and a hedgehog separation system to remove small stones and clods. A picking-off table for up to 6 people provides further cleaning. On this model, the crop passes direct to the trailer, but also available is a 5-ton bunker or a bagging platform. An interesting concept which we believe will have a place in the UK market. However, the real interest centred around the new Standen Status, as evidenced by the crowds that surrounded it during the day. We'll be covering the Status at the end of this film, so we'll say no more about it here, except that Status is an all-new harvester combining built-in simplicity with a huge cleaning performance and the absolute minimum of drops. The second day was a bit of a washout. 25 millimetres of rain overnight having turned the site into a quagmire. Exhibitors corralled their harvesters around their static stands and carried on selling despite the rain. Cheerfulness was the order of the day. Some were more willing to be filmed than others, as these shots show, but even in the rain, everyone agreed that the PMB had scored another hit. All thanks must go to Oliver Statham, who was the driving force behind the whole event. We last looked closely at the FM topper in this film in the summer, when it was working on green top. It's time to look at it again, now in October, in a variety that can be tricky to top, Cara. The hole is often over 5 feet long, as long in fact as a sales manager, and can present quite a challenge to the average topper. But of course the FM topper is not an average topper. Seen here working with the new Status, it's leaving a beautifully topped pair of ridges, with all the chopped material being reduced to something that will take very little trouble to incorporate during subsequent cultivations. It shows once again what a splendid topper the standen topper is, and how it will cope with just about anything in the field. We're now approaching the end of this film, which has shown you a number of standen products at work during 1994. Earlier, we promised you a glimpse of our new harvester, the Status, which was built in our development workshop during 1994. So let's now look at this important new machine as it comes together, part by part, piece by piece, bit by bit, growing day by day until it's ready for rollout. Although only a limited number of Statuses will be available for sale in 1995, that's no reason why we shouldn't lift the corner of the curtain and give you a glimpse of what's coming next. Status is basically a wider version of the Statesman 2, but it is more than just a wider version, as we shall now see. Here then is the prototype on the day it was completed. Let's run through a few of its features. There's a low-level drawbar with integral steering. The first web is a full 1700 millimeters wide to allow Status to harvest rows of up to 40 inches or 1.7 meter wide beds. Because the web is both wider and longer, an additional set of driving rollers is fitted to eliminate the possibility of slip. Sweeping clod fingers are an option, as are electrically controlled clod fingers with adjustable pressure control. The second web is wider than the first web to encourage free flow through the harvester. Due to a novel drive system, the drop from the second web onto the table is only 5 inches, nothing when compared to the competition. It's connected to the roller table, so that as the table is angled, it moves with it, maintaining this minimal drop. The web can be extended rearwards over the roller table if necessary. The back of the table is fixed with a reverse running roller to extract the last bit of horn. The table is 1750 millimeters wide with 20 long rollers. These can reverse and are adjustable for speed. It's by far and away the largest table on the market, with nearly 2 square meters of cleaning area. The discharge elevator is the same as Statesman and includes the option of a simple windrowing system. Just flick a switch in the cab and the crossweb reverses and a chute is lowered. Flick it again and the process is reversed. Although the Status has wider working parts than the Statesman, it's overall no wider, and for such a high capacity machine, it's relatively short at 9 meters. Out to the field we go, and straight onto Greentop, on the fens not far from Ely. This was on soil the consistency of light soot, and the farm manager commented it was the first time he'd seen a machine fitted with shares successfully lift potatoes. His own harvester uses Weimar discs. Being a first cousin of the Statesman, it was unsurprising that the single holm roller had absolutely no problem extracting the major part of the holm from the sample, with the table easily whisking away what was left. It was good as well to watch the easy flow of the crop over the roller table, with those very small drops being self-evidently better than anything one could find elsewhere. One of the next ports of call was up north to lift some 1.7 metre wide beds planted by the standen big boy planter. Lightish sandy soil and a relatively small crop on this special trial plot left for ADAS assessments meant little or no material was carried up the web. This was a good test for its low angle to monitor just what sort of rollback one could expect. The answer was very little. In fact, since the variety was record, low damage was even more important than normal. In a dry year, it's thought by some people that roller tables could run into problems. Not so for standen, and we were well pleased with the way the crop passed through the harvester, even with no cushioning soil. It looked good in the trailer too. Loading into boxes is a normal enough requirement these days, and for status, or for that matter statesmen, the new elevator is entirely suitable for the job. Whether it's close up, where the inner row of boxes is just a few feet from the harvester, or whether it's at full reach